Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Two Chicks, Three Seats. So, a few episodes ago, we talked about how restaurants can attract Generation Z as employees to their restaurant or venue. And especially right now, when the industry is in a bit of a labor challenge, which is so random since a year ago it was the opposite challenge, obviously. But that episode actually received some really great feedback. And so we decided to go back to the topic of Generation Z. But for now, we're going to talk about the perspective of attracting Gen Z as customers in the hospitality industry. So a little bit of a switch there. And in case you need a recap on who exactly Generation Z is, they are anyone born between about 1996 and the early 2010s. So that makes them on the older side about 25 years old. And on the younger side, about 11 years old. So Rachel, I hate saying on the older side because it's like not old at all, but yes, on the older side of those two numbers. And according to an article by the Digital Restaurant that discusses attracting Gen Z to your restaurant, Gen Z is expected to make up 40% of consumers within the next decade, that's huge. I mean, I guess it makes sense. They're only getting older. But that does make it crucial for you to be targeting Gen Z, and we are going to tell you how to do it. So let's start with some social media information. Yeah. Rachel's the social media guru at Tripleseat. So.
Social media, my middle name.
Yeah.
But basically, the number one personality trait that kind of comes to mind when you're thinking about Gen Z is the fact that they are the most social media using generation thus far ever. Who knows what it'll be like a couple generations down. That's probably going to be even more so, but what the kids are going to be doing those days. But I feel like most of Gen Z was born into the world where everyone had an iPhone. There was no more flip phones. Everyone had Instagram when they were in middle school, and TikTok stars are the big names of the generation that I'm in right now. So it's really great.
Anyone can be famous. Literally anyone.
It's very true. The celebrities aren't the same. It's the everyone on social media has become the celebrity status. It's not just like Hollywood anymore. It's now this whole generation of young TikTok influencers. And that's just...
It's funny because I feel like it sort of started in my generation where it was like reality TV stars. Yeah. And now it's like social media stars. So
that's
it's
so
like
interesting.
Evolving. Right?
Yeah. That is interesting. Good point. But that being said, social media is the place that Gen Z is going to be. So it's the place that your restaurant, hotel, event venue, wherever you work, that's where you need to be as well. And I know we talk about some social media marketing on this podcast in the past and just across Tripleseat when we talk about marketing, but there are some more specifics that we haven't talked about before that I'll mention right now. So Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, those are some of the biggest social media platforms that Gen Z specifically are on. And when it comes to things that they love the whole visual aspect, video, the short time video, which is TikTok. That's a lot of the things that they're into right now, opposed to maybe like LinkedIn. Twitter is, LinkedIn for the business side, but when it comes to like looking for your restaurants, I'm not thinking they're looking on LinkedIn, not even really Twitter. So it's definitely Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok are going to be the big four. And I don't think we've ever talked about Snapchat in terms of like how restaurants can use it for their marketing. And I was even doing some research on it for some ideas. But one thing for Snapchat. So if you've never used Snapchat for your restaurant, I'm going to talk about a couple ways that you could. So first, you're going to want to make your Snapchat account for the restaurant. So have it be the restaurant's name, obviously. First things first, you got to have the account. And then try uploading to your local story. Are you familiar with Snapchat, Kate?
Not really. So I downloaded it a while ago and I used it a little bit and then I just kind of fell off of it. I think I got consumed by TikTok, so I just sort of like...
So if you have any questions, ask a question. Because I'm sure there's listeners who maybe have questions too. But on Snapchat, you can basically post a story similarly to how you can on Instagram, and it's just visible to your Snapchat friends. But then there's also this thing called a local story, which businesses can post to, and also people could post to. So a local story on Snapchat is visible to anyone who's looking on the Snapchat map. So basically on Snapchat, there's a map. It shows like where you are, and anyone around you that uses Snapchat that you're friends with will pop up on the map. So it's literally kind of like a map of your friends and where they are. And then it also shows like local businesses. It'll show like sporting events. So at the TD Garden the other day where the Bruins are playing, it'll show like there could be a local story, and everyone who's posting to that local story at the Bruins game can post all their Snapchats there. And so people can see them who aren't at the event. Yeah, you can literally, so if I'm here in Boston, I look over, I live really close to the Garden, so it comes up close on my Snapchat map. I click on the local story and everything from the game is there. And
so even people you're not friends with, you can see what they posted. That's interesting. That's
exactly
a great feature for restaurants.
I know, but there's, so there is specific, so I can see Snapchats that my friends post, but then if they choose to put it on the local story, then it's visible to everyone. So for a restaurant, for example, they could be posting to the local stories in the Boston area. Maybe they have their own setup around their actual vicinity, or just like there's a couple Boston-based ones, depending on where you click on the Snapchat map, and they'll show like local businesses, local happenings, different events, promotions, stuff like that. So I feel like that's a cool spot for restaurants to post like food videos, drinks, cool events, any specials.
Or like people watching the Bruins game at your restaurant. We keep using Boston as an example, obviously, but like with the Stanley Cup playoffs happening, it's like, that's a great way to, to promote your restaurant. Right. In the moment.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I'm sure like banners right next to the Garden was like so mobbed the other day for the game on Monday. And so that would have been an awesome thing for them to post about and post it on the local store since everyone's tuning in. I love that idea. That's one way to use Snapchat. Another way that your restaurant could use Snapchat is through geo filters. So geo filters, I feel like that's one people know more commonly. It's basically if you take a Snapchat and you swipe over on the screen of the photo, you can get like a bunch of local geo filters. So it would say like Boston, like maybe the zip code, if there's some sort of like national this day, they'll come up. And so you can you'll have to pay for this, but you can create a geo filter based on your restaurant. So you have to pay for it, and then you put it in a certain area so it comes up on the certain radius that you choose. So like physical space on the map. So you'd want it to show up either in like your area of Boston, maybe just where your restaurant is. But the Snapchat geo filter can be available for a certain time period in the certain radius. So if you're, obviously it's going to be good on a local scale, because if you're a local restaurant, you're trying to attract the local clients. So if someone's taking a Snapchat, they maybe live around the corner from you, and they swipe on the Snapchat geo filters, they see your geo filter that says something about your restaurant, then bam, you got some recruitment from Snapchat.
Love that.
Yeah. And you could even post, like people could post with your geo filter onto the local story, kind of playing on each other in that way as well. And then one other thing for Snapchat is there is advertising on Snapchat. So I don't know all the specifics, but there is a whole page on the Snapchat website that's called Snapchat for Business. And they explain in detail how you can like create ads and where they would show up. Similarly, you can choose the vicinity for your local area. I feel like it's not going to be too expensive. I don't know. Yeah. But it's definitely another way, since the Gen Zers are going to be on Snapchat, then, advertise on there too.
Absolutely. It's a great idea.
So that's a little bit on Snapchat.
Maybe I'll download it again. Yeah. Or put it back on my phone, rather.
We can be Snapchat friends.
Yeah. God, another app that I just get like social media app that I just get lost in. Yeah.
Well, speaking of social media apps that lose you, TikTok, the number one culprit is TikTok.
Yeah, I find myself like last night I was just like, and my son asked me a question while I was in the middle of watching like my 100th video. And I got like mad at him for like interrupting me. I was like, okay, I need to log off now.
Right. Well, that's the power of it. And that's why it's like so dangerous.
It really is. It really is. Yeah.
But on that note, with TikTok, I mean, TikTok has been like a huge thing over the past year. Brands have been getting into it, all sorts of businesses and restaurants too. I think we've talked about it briefly in the past, but I mean, Gen Zers are all over TikTok. They love the short form video because they do have low attention spans. It is shown that Gen Zers have some of the lowest attention spans ever. They don't want to just be sitting through long videos, maybe on different platforms. So TikTok is the perfect way to do that. So if you're on TikTok as a restaurant, try creating any sort of videos that show off your fancy drinks, your bar, your event space. I feel like Gen Zers love that like extra wow factor. So if you have that in your TikTok videos, throw some trending music on it. There's all sorts of songs that are trending on TikTok every week, every day. So maybe your video could even go viral, and having it with that kind of music, that makes it easier to get found. And then Gen Z also, like I said before, loves the actual creators that are on the app. So maybe, I don't know if your restaurant's ever worked with restaurant influencer marketing before, but maybe now you could with TikTok. I know in Boston, there's a lot of Boston-based Instagram, like food accounts and stuff. And so they work with local restaurants. So maybe even translating that business model with TikTok could be an option to look at down the road. But yeah, so TikTok is also another big player that restaurants could get into. And I feel like will get into as we get further along in the social media world and people get more adapted to it. So
yeah, definitely. And then once, everyone adapts to it, there'll be something new.
Exactly.
And it won't be the cool thing anymore.
Seriously.
Oh God. But it's so true. I never thought of that. Like, cause I follow a lot of those, like influencers, like food influencers in Boston, who probably just started because they were like, you know what, we go out to brunch like twice a week. We should have a brunch TikTok account. And now like they're making money off of it, which is crazy. But yeah, it's a good idea. Get your restaurant on those.
It just makes you think, wow, you also love to eat and drink.
Yeah,
why didn't I start this myself?
I was thinking the other day, I was like, I should start a TikTok account that talks about taking, like, for like mothers who want to take or for mothers and dads who want to take their kids out to restaurants.
Yeah.
And like how kid friendly are the restaurants? Because that's something obviously you don't think about till you have children, and you're like, oh, I really want to try that. Like even like, like breweries and stuff like that. Like a lot of them will like cater to families because they're like, you'll come and spend a lot of money here. So we will have games for your children. Right. And kids menus and, but some also on the other end of the spectrum don't do anything like that because they don't want kids there, but they can't say no. Most of them don't say like no kids. So anyways, I was like, that would be a good idea, but it would be so like local to my area that it's probably
you found your niche.
Jump off. I know, right? I do like to take my children out to eat probably more than I should, but whatever. Anyways, anywho, on to the next topic is offering experiences. So like you mentioned before, Gen Z is all about finding the next great thing and also the next great experience. And that includes experiences at the restaurants they frequent, obviously. So Gen Z wants something more than just being seated at the dinner table. And they want to experience something unique during their time at your restaurant because they're spoiled. So whatever. I'm just kidding. They want more. Gen Z wants more of everything. But yeah, no, it's totally true. I think that this also started with millennials. Like, I feel like also wanted more, but now I think it's just gaining speed and it's becoming more popular to offer experiences. Right. So just something simple that you could do, like, does your restaurant offer outdoor dining? And like, why don't you turn that outdoor dining up a notch so it really is an experience? And how about like you offer outdoor dining in a way that makes like the area feel like a fancy picnic? That would be awesome, right? And like, I think you mentioned this, but the Insta-worthy dream picnics that are all over Instagram lately, I've seen them on TikTok too, I feel like. And if you could offer something like that at your restaurant, that would be ideal. And I'm sure that many Gen Zers looking for a dining experience would come to your restaurant. And then, just take your space to the next level to make the dining experience even more memorable. I think that is not only great for attracting Gen Zers. I think every generation could love that as well. Definitely not going to lose money on it, I don't think. And another great example of being unique is offering an experience where the chef chooses the entire meal for the guests. So every course is a surprise. And I love this idea. So the guests simply choose if they want fish, meat, or veggie-based menu. And then the rest is up to the chef to decide. So every course is really its own surprise experience. And I love that idea. I would totally do that. And then also like thinking about what kind of tableside services that your restaurant can offer. So restaurants offer all sorts of things from mashing guacamole tableside to slicing meat for each guest to adding a theatrical element to the drinks and desserts. And when Gen Z sees anything, absolutely anything photo worthy, their IG camera will immediately open up and your tableside experience will be posted for thousands to see in no time, which is just free publicity. So why not? And then, how else can restaurants serve food and drink in a way that is unique for the whole table to enjoy? What about a Bloody Mary bar? Bostonia Public House that we had, Megan Long from Bostonia that we had on few months ago, I think the Bostonia Public has offered an amazing Bloody Mary bar with like everything you could ever imagine or not imagine going into a Bloody Mary. And so many people posted their pictures on Instagram. So obviously a great idea. And then like maybe an ice cream sundae station. I would love that. Fondue possibly. And then also we should talk about events. Gen Z is definitely at an age where birthday celebrations are often taken to the next level. So whether that be for turning 16, which is scary, 21 or 25 or, you know, whatever it may be, or literally any other age. I feel like Gen Z is like, I'm turning 23. Let's rent out an entire room for my birthday.
Right.
Which is awesome for restaurants. I mean, take advantage of it for sure. But like, how can your restaurant offer experiences for a private event setup that Gen Z would actually love? And I feel like with this, it's not something that you have to think too hard about. I feel like even something as simple as like offering personalization. So like maybe like the birthday person's name on the menus or like even on the napkins. You can get napkins, like personalized napkins, pretty cheap and made quickly. That would be awesome. Imagine. I feel like Gen Zers would love that.
Yeah.
Right. And then like, you know, a signature drink, maybe that doesn't even have to be really a signature drink. You just ask the birthday person, like, what's your favorite like spirit and what do you like? Do you like citrus? Do you like this? Do you like that? And then just like making them something and naming it after them. I think even like small details like that go a long way and they're not expensive to pull off. So
Right.
Just some simple ideas. I mean, you can go even more crazy. I'm sure there are a gazillion packages that restaurants could offer to Gen Zers, especially now that events are opening back up to get them in the door. But I do think it's funny. I feel like just this past weekend, I went away for one night for my girlfriend's 40th birthday. So not Gen Z. But even we would like my group of girlfriends, like we love to take advantage. And of course it was 40. We probably wouldn't have done it for like a 39th birthday, but,
Right.
but we love those extra details as well.
What'd you do? Anything special?
We stayed at a local inn. Actually, one of our Tripleseat people got married there very recently. Marcus and Molly got married at the Briar Barn Inn, and we stayed there for a night. And they have a spa, and then we went out to dinner in Newburyport, Massachusetts after, and it was like amazing. It was like the best weather. And then the next morning we had brunch and walked around and went shopping and stuff. So
Love
it was
that.
nice. I mean, very simple. We're 40. We're moms, so we didn't go crazy. We were like in bed by midnight. And up by like 7. So yeah.
Not quite a Gen Zer.
Oh my God. And we didn't take an Uber, like we drove like sophisticated adults. So, oh man. And these are the girls that I worked at like nightclubs with. So
Right.
I mean, we used to not go out till 11 o'clock and
Right.
like, God forbid, if anyone ever made us stand in line outside of a bar in Boston, we'd be like, screw you.
Right.
Do you know who we
right.
are? So those kinds of friends. And now we just like call it a night at 11 and snuggle up next to each other in a hotel room.
And that's on adulting.
We did drink 3 bottles of Vouv though. So
Wow.
there was that. But anyways,
Love that.
moving on.
Okay, so moving on to another way that restaurants can attract Generation Z to come dine with them is through loyalty programs. So, I mean, Gen Z is younger and earlier in their careers, so they kind of love any chance that they can to get an experience for a little bit less money, you know, important for everyone.
Absolutely.
So maybe that can be through discounts or some sort of loyalty program. And I feel like loyalty programs are just a big thing in general right now. Like everyone loves to rack up their points for, you know, spending this many dollars, and then it incentivizes them to spend more at that brand. So the restaurants can do the same thing. And we actually found an Upserve article that kind of was giving some tips on creating a successful restaurant loyalty program. So just going to mention a couple of those tips that they give because I think they were good. So they said to first keep it digital. So anytime you're setting up a program, keep it digital. No one really needs another loyalty card in their wallet. You know, people forget them. It ends up being more expensive just to keep replacing cards that people forget. So try going the digital approach by setting up a loyalty program through your website or like an app on the phone, whichever way your team can do that. Keep it simple too. No one necessarily wants to be part of a program if it requires all these different asks every single time, all these different qualifications to actually be part of it. So maybe keeping it simple so that any guest visiting at any hour can earn and redeem points. And, you want to keep the goal to be of the program to be that you're trying to get genuine loyalty at the forefront of this initiative. So you don't want to have all these minimum requirements that make it harder for some people to achieve when in reality, you're just trying to get that genuine loyalty. I mean, I feel like I do. Like if ever I spend money and I'm like, okay, wow, I got this reward because I spent this many dollars. I genuinely am like, wow, I love that they do this. It's not because of anything like, I don't know, manipulative. It feels just
right.
I'm like, I do like this brand for doing this and treating their customers well. So
totally agree.
Keeping it simple in that regard. The article also mentions to make sure that you're training the front of house on the loyalty program. So that make sure that when servers are talking to guests, then they ask if they're part of the loyalty program. And then if they're not, they're able to explain how to sign up for the loyalty program in a concise way. So as to, not interrupt, but also just making sure they get the information across. And then maybe if you want to, then you can even offer a small 10% discount on your bill that day if they sign up right now. Maybe you could even use QR codes on the table if that's easier, or just the quick download of the app. And then just making sure that all your servers and the rest of your team understand how people can redeem rewards so that there's no confusion when the time comes as well. And then the article also mentions, play into the aspect of giving guests FOMO if they're not part of the rewards program. So, fear of missing out. Everyone wants to be in everything. No one wants to be missing out. So make sure that you're posting about the loyalty program on social media so that anyone who's not enrolled in it kind of sees what they're missing out on, promote the rewards that you have, and repost anyone tagging you, talking about how they redeemed rewards or just talking about the loyalty program in general. Play into that FOMO aspect.
Absolutely.
We all miss out on don't want to miss out on some things. And then just kind of promote the program everywhere you can. So maybe creating table tents so that guests can read the benefits while they're at their table. Implement some sort of referral rewards program for current members when they refer a new person to the loyalty program. Maybe they get some extra points. Cross promote your program with another business or some sort of local influencer. Just any way to kind of get the word out is going to help create this program and build it up and make it known. So, I mean, just creating some sort of genuine loyalty and relationships with your customers goes beyond just the loyalty program. So you want to make sure that you're also engaging with your guests on social media, a Gen Zer's happy place. So make sure that you're connecting with them there to create that relationship, greeting your regulars and, celebrating your guests with any added touches during their dining experience as well. So all things that Gen Z loves.
It's a great idea. I like the fact that they talked about keeping it simple because I feel like my most favorite loyalty programs are the ones that I don't even have to think about. I'm checking out one day and they're like, oh, you have a $5 reward. And I'm like, oh, I do? Cool. I'll use it. I think that those are the most simple and also the most appreciative because it's you don't even have to keep track of them, which is nice.
Right. Definitely.
One less thing you have to keep track of. So also let's also talk about how Gen Z likes to give back, which is one of the pluses of the Gen Z generation. Generation Z generation, that made no sense, but you know what I mean. So similarly to how Gen Z values their employers to be socially responsible, Gen Z also wants the businesses they buy from to have a social responsibility, which I definitely appreciate. So when this comes to the hospitality industry, Gen Z may look out for restaurants that value sustainability, eliminating waste, going fully plant-based, and other ways that restaurants can help the environment. I think that even my generation, well, maybe I don't know, not all of us, I guess, but I do think that some of us look for the same values in restaurants for sure. And, since Gen Z almost always checks a restaurant's social media page before visiting, it is also important for your restaurant to have a public stance on other relevant social issues. So has your restaurant talked about making its workplace even more inclusive or posted about supporting certain policies? Has your restaurant publicly supported community initiatives like local fundraisers or food drives? All of these things are super important to Gen Z customers, and they should definitely be important to your restaurant as well. And this has been a really tough year for the restaurant industry, obviously, but restaurants are still doing everything they can to uphold their social responsibilities to their employees, customers, and communities alike. And that is something that Gen Zers hold highly when looking at businesses to support. And I think that most people should also look at those things as well. Maybe not like, our parents' generations, but yeah, definitely important. And I think it's just getting even more and more important. I don't think that, that those issues are like what's hot right now. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes things like that can be like, well, this is the cool thing to support right now. But I think that those things that we just talked about are always going to be important. And they always should have been important, and they weren't to all people. And now they are becoming, thank God. And I think moving forward, they're just going to continue. So very important. And it's important not to just fake it, like to actually, to actually like, and the thing is too, like, if you don't believe in something, don't preach it at your restaurant, because, it's okay. It's okay to have a different view on things, but be honest with your customers, and your people that you'd like to be customers as well. So words of wisdom.
Preach. Preach.
I know.
Well, that was a good list of some ways to attract Generation Z.
Yeah. I think it's really smart to be doing this right now, because like we said earlier in the episode, it's, they're just they're not, Gen Z is like, so your Generation Z obviously is already out dining and drinking in restaurants, but there are so many Generation Z people who aren't there yet. And they're just, they're going to be, and there's a lot of you.
I know.
It's a very populous generation. That's the right word. So yeah. Yep. Support them. Get them.
We'll see.
Trap them.
Trap them.
Trap them.
Get them while they're young.
Get them while they're young. That sounds awful.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, everyone.
And we'll talk to you next week, or see you next week, or you'll listen to us next week.
I love how we never get the line. We never get that line.
Never. We'll never get that right. We have to like write it down next time.